Well, good morning, Representative Jon Lundberg. I'm Bill Ketron, State Senator Bill Ketron. Representative Jon Lundberg and I are pleased that you could join us today for the announcement about legislation that we will file today concerning the sale of wine in retail food stores. We're joined by a number of bill co-sponsors today with us. And before we get into the details of the bill, I want to take a few minutes to introduce some other individuals standing with us today representing the state's retail food stores. We have today with us Kroger, Publix, Murphy Food Stores, Super 10 Foods, Food City, Ham's Teeter, H.G. Hills, and the Alliance Retail Group. Jaron Springer of the Tennessee Grocers and Convenience Store Association. We will provide a list of all the sponsors and the others in attendance. So thank you all for being here today. This legislation, if passed, will let Tennesseans vote on the sale of wine and retail food stores through local referendums. The referendums will be held only in those communities that currently allow retail package stores and liquor by the drink, or both. I want to point out that this is the way that local voters decide today whether to allow retail liquor stores or liquor by the drink in their respective communities. So it makes sense to take this issue of where to sell wine to those voters. If the legislation is passed, the law will be effective January 1st, 2014, and referendums may be held during the next general election scheduled after that date. Representative Lundberg and I strongly believe that Tennesseans deserve the opportunity to vote on this issue. If you're not buying wine where you shop for food, you don't have to vote for it. But we think that a lot of Tennesseans will vote for it. Every year when this issue comes up, my office and many offices here at the plaza of my colleagues are inundated with calls and emails from Tennesseans about why they can't understand why we don't trust them to make their own decisions about where they purchase alcohol. They don't understand why they can buy beer in a grocery store and not a bottle of wine. The bill puts the decision directly in the hands of the voters where it belongs. So let me tell you about some of the other provisions included in this bill. Grocery and convenience stores already must ask for proof of age from everyone purchasing alcohol, and this practice will apply to wine sales as well. The bill would require retail food stores selling wine to participate in the Tennessee Alcoholic Beverage Commission's Responsible Vendor Program, which requires retailers, the employees, to participate in training on the responsible sale of alcoholic beverages. The bill as written also requires liquor stores to participate in the mandatory carding and to take part in the Responsible Vendor Program. Liquor stores are currently exempt from these requirements under the current alcohol sales. I think this may be one of the most important pieces of legislation. It's time that we treat every alcohol sale the same, regardless of where it's sold. It's the right thing to do, and it sends a message that this state is unified in the effort to prevent the sale of alcohol to minors. The referendum, if passed, would allow only wine that is 18% alcohol by volume or less to be sold at retail food stores. This covers a typical wines that a retailer would want to sell and excludes, for example, the fortified wines. These wines would continue to be available in liquor stores. As I said earlier, the referendum bill will apply to only those municipalities that currently allow package stores, liquor by the drink, or both. That's a total of 170 municipalities that will be eligible to hold a referendum. This is a good piece of legislation. It's fair, And most important, it puts the decision squarely in the hands of the voters. I'd now like to ask Representative Lundberg to say a few words.
Thank you. I think it's a great piece of legislation, and if I can, I'm going to veer off course and just grab this. And I'll tell you that wine is available in grocery stores, just not in Tennessee. It's available over here, it's available over here, it's available all around us. And where I live, in Bristol, which is, for those of you geographically challenged, is over here. My town is split in the middle. Virginia is half of the town. People are going over there, they're buying wine, but while they're there, they're also buying chicken and steak and bread and eggs and everything else. We are literally driving business out of the state. It happens not just on the east end, it happens in Chattanooga and everywhere else. The folks that are here from the grocery chains, you employ 70,000 people in the state. That's amazing. That's strong. What this bill does is improve those jobs, increase those jobs. It brings money back into the state, not just in wine sales, but in everything else that we're pushing outside of the state. And I do want to reemphasize one thing. If this bill passed today, wine isn't going to be for sale tomorrow. It puts it back right where it should be, where liquor bills have traditionally been, and we all say up here that it should be handled and taken at the local level. And that's what this bill does. It puts it back at the local level for people to make those decisions. I'll tell you, I am very proud of Senator Ketron, the other representatives and senators here, of this piece of legislation. And frankly, I'm proud of all of you. And I hope that you will take the time over the next little bit to call your representative, call your senator, and encourage them. This is not the wine and grocery store bill. This is a referendum that puts it back to people to make the local decision. And it's a business bill. It brings business back to the state. Business that we have mandated go away, basically, out of the state. I think that's important. I thank you for being here, Senator. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you very much.
And if you have questions, be happy to take them.
One other thing, the state of Kentucky, the state Supreme Court ruled this past year, last summer, that it was unconstitutional to not let grocery stores have the ability to sell wine. So I'm sure that it would be found the same way if challenged in our state Supreme Court. As Representative Lundberg talked about, the number of people employed, the amount of dollars given back by local grocery stores in our communities, how much they give back to local high schools, local bands, local football teams, how much they advertise, they are connected to the community. That business is not going back out of our state as talked about by other retail stores. That stays in our community because through their payroll, they're going and buying other items from all those employees across our state. We welcome this opportunity and we will stand available for questions at this point in time.
He gets all the tough ones, though.
Have liquor store owners shown any indication to work with you on this issue, or what has the response been from them as far as trying to work on this issue?
Liquor store owners or the industry?
The liquor store owners and the industry in general.
Well, over the last several years, we've looked at our complicated and archaic laws of alcohol in Tennessee, and they like it just the way it is. They don't want to change. We're willing to sit down and talk with them, but they don't want to come to the table. I'm sure if this bill passes, then they'll be there, wanting to see what they can do. I don't have a problem with them selling anything that they want to sell. Why should they be prohibited, just like grocery stores are prohibited in selling wine? Why should they be prohibited in selling anything else? I mean, that's what our country's founded upon, about the opportunity to sell whatever they need to. Those laws are archaic that have isolated them to have a monopoly on just selling wine.
Why do you think it might be different? We've seen what's happened to this bill the past 5 years. Why do you think it might be different this year?
Well, I think recent polling at Vanderbilt shows over 60% of the people of this state want it. MTSU's poll last year showed over 71% of the people in this state want it. We have so many people that are moving in that they move in from California and Florida, and they're going, where's the wine at? Where's the wine section in your grocery store, Publix or Kroger's? And they just can't believe that we don't have that. And I think because of the attitude of our state is changing. Our state is changing. And I think by having both speakers behind it, and also the way that we've had it in the past, we've changed it this year to a referendum. So it's not, our members will not have to, some don't like to vote on alcohol bills, but they won't be voting on an alcohol bill. They'll be voting on whether or not to put the voting rights back in the people that they represent, to let them decide whether or not they want local wine in their grocery stores.
Was that the origin of this bill, Senator and Representative? If you look at last election day, and if you saw the amount of the liquor sales, pretty overwhelmingly across the state, people don't mind. It seems voters don't mind. It seems voting to say, "Hey, I don't mind a liquor store. I don't mind liquor by the drink." Was that a part of the strategy in coming up with a plan to say, "Let's just give it to the people"?
Yeah, I think so. Representative Lundberg and I had talked about that. Matter of fact, I never put the bill up on, we talked about it in state and local, even when I was chairman of state and local, but never put it to a vote. It always died here in the House in a subcommittee. So you had 7 people on the subcommittee. All it took was 4 to kill the bill. So I think just like retail liquor stores and liquor by the drink, that's how they got where they are, by a referendum. So let's take it back to the community and let the people decide whether or not they want it.
Can I go back to 2 things just real quick, because you asked a good question. I'll toss to you. I think when you look at the antiquated system we have, I think most people would say it's amazing that you can only buy wine in a liquor store right now, but it's illegal to buy a corkscrew in a liquor store. I think anyone would go, there's issues with that. And when you look at the bill, you'll see that some of that is not specifically addressed, because what we've done, and we've done it for a number of years, so we've gone to the industry and said, let's talk, let's meet and talk about what we can do together. And frankly, they haven't wanted to sit at that table. And I think over that time, what you've seen also is the people across the state have said, hey, enough is enough, and it's gotten to the point, and that point is now where it's time. And that's why, you know, as far as why is this the year, why is it going to happen now, I think you've hit that junction of the people are done. They've said, you know, we've had enough. It's time to move this forward. The legislature is getting that message as well. It's time.
How much confidence do you have that this changes the minds in that House subcommittee?
Oh, in the House,
where the hang-up has been in the past.
Oh, I feel very confident. You know, and if you said, well, last year you felt confident as well. I did, but in reality, you walked into a room, when you walked into a room like this, it wasn't filled with the same friendly faces. And I think you have a completely different attitude here. And candidly also, this legislation has changed it, because when you add the referendum in it, if you had concerns about voting, it's one of those, we're telling our comrades that, look, what we're doing is we're not approving this. We're putting them back into the hands of people in their cities and their municipalities. And that is a game changer in many ways.
You talk about the archaic laws, though, but there are also nuances here. Like, I like my fortified wine. You know, why can't I get that through this as well? I really don't like fortified wine, but I bring that up as an example. Why not? You know, why not allow communities to say through referendum, hey, whatever you want.
Yeah, I think liquor stores, because they do carry up to, I think we changed the law last year and got rid of the 190 proof and above, and dropped that down to, I think, 150 and less. So I think that the strength of the alcohol should be sold in those liquor stores.
How quickly do you anticipate moving on this issue here in the legislature? Is this something you're going to wait until March or April to bring up, or is it?
No, matter of fact, I think it's we're going to run it first in the Senate, and we decided today on the 26th. We're going to get it first reading. We'll drop it today. It'll go to first reading next Monday night. We need to get it to fiscal review. Let fiscal review work on the fiscal note, And so the earliest we can probably get it in front of the committee would be the 26th of this month.
Is there much of a fiscal note with this? I mean, this doesn't seem to be pricey as a.
Well,
as a
we want to make sure that the fiscal note we've had was a huge fiscal note to the positive, bringing large dollars in. We want to make sure that it's correct, and so we can move forward on that, and making sure that we have good numbers on it.
Representative Lundberg, the House committee has been broken into two.
Correct.
Is there a subcommittee that will have to go through, and have you looked at the committee to assess the makeup and its chances?
I have. What was the State and Local Government Committee, exactly as you said, split up to the state and the local committee. We don't know yet because the bill, frankly, in the House has not been filed. In fact, in the House and the Senate, we're going to file this morning shortly after this. Where it will go is up to the clerk's office. I've looked at the composition of the committees. I feel very confident whichever way it goes. There's one I'd rather see it go through, but again, I think our level of interest on those committees is high, and I feel very good about the success. And if I can, on the fiscal note, especially for those of you that haven't been involved, when we do a fiscal note here, we're putting how much a bill will cost the state to go into action. In this one, the cost to the state is millions of dollars coming back in. That's just direct tax sales, and that's amazing. You do not see a lot of that when you see legislation filed. It's usually the other way of how much it will cost us.
We've kind of all touched on this, but you've mentioned that the polls show huge public support for this issue, yet that support hasn't always translated to the people that are actually voting on it in this room. Or how does that change? How do you get the people that are voting on it on board with what you're seeing in poll numbers?
Well, I think the local organization called Red Wine and Foods, they've set up booths inside the grocery stores throughout the state. They've got a lot of people who came in on petition. They've got their email addresses. Let them contact those folks who vote when we get ready to run the bill. I think that'll make a big difference. And how can you deny the people back home in your community to vote whether they want it or not? It's up to them. Let them vote. If they don't like it, fine. As opposed to us saying we control and it's our decision. We know better than what you do. That'll get you beat next time you run. Other questions? Well, thank you very much, and we look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks. Jaron? I'd like to turn it over to Jaron Springer very quickly.
Well, I appreciate everybody being here today. I'm Jaron Springer, president of the Tennessee Grocers and Convenience Store Association. I appreciate all the retailers being here today. Thank you for the press corps being here. I appreciate our sponsors, Representative Lundberg, Senator Ketron. We fully support your bill, and we appreciate you being a part of this. And so, if anybody, I'm available afterwards if we'd like to take any questions. But I think this is pretty much we've covered all the ground. So, thank you all again.